Good evening. I would like to call this meeting of the Dexter Community Board on Monday, May 2024, 21 to order. Welcome and any members in attendance. While this meeting being held in person, it is also being streamed to allow remote public participation so that members of the public may have health concerns and can join. Those attending in person are required to complete a COVID-19 symptom screening before entering and wearing a mask that covers their mouth and nose and maintain 6 feet of distance from other participants during the meeting. Dexter schools requires that everyone wear a mask indoors in groups where they are likely both vaccinated and unvaccinated. The total capacity for the boardroom with COVID protocols in place is 26. In the event that more than 6 individuals attend, or if anyone does not follow the mask requirement, the meeting will be recessed and then reconvene virtually. While this is a business working meeting of education, there are 2 opportunities for public comment, one towards the beginning of the meeting, one at the end of the meeting. So just to remind you, all the board members, please join. Hopefully we have a complete working set here. And a reminder, we will be doing votes via voice vote. So we'll begin with the roll call. Ms. Vestergaard, could you call the roll?
Mr. Arnold?
Present.
Mrs. Bruderly? Here. Mrs. Greater?
Here.
Ms. Angus? Here. Dr. Kipke? Mr. Lundy?
Here.
Dr. Shoemaker?
Present. Next, we have our minutes from May 10th. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move that the board approve the regular meeting minutes from the May 10th, 2021 board meeting as presented.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any suggested changes? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are unanimously approved. Next, we have approval of the agenda.
Can we make one change real quick? The phonics presentation will be under discussion. That up front.
Oh, it's listed, okay.
Yeah, I didn't notice it.
Okay. Someone like to make an emotion with that one amendment?
I move that the Board of Education approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with one change. There will be no school presentation. The phonics will just be covered under the discussion item. Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is unanimously approved. So we have no school presentations this evening, so we'll move on to our administrative and board updates.
I'm going to start with commencements. Well, first, honors night is on June 2nd, 7 o'clock at El Rid. Commencements will be on the 4th, on Friday night with the rain date. It's not going to rain, so we're going over. We're doing 2 sessions, broken alphabetically, so 6 o'clock and at 8:15. In general, in a commencement ceremony, we'll get 2,500 to 3,000 people in the audience. The El Rid bleachers fit about 2,000 seated, so to break it into 2 allows us to let families bring however many people they want and still have some spacing. Tennis court project or replacement started. We will need to talk with facilities and then the board about budget coming up because we did run into one problem as soon as they started tearing it out. There's water at the bottom of every post, so it's retained underneath somewhere, so we need to change the drainage system that was originally set up. Something you couldn't find until you go to tear it up, and it's in every post, which could be part of the reason it was heaving and cracking. The water's retained under there, kind of like a fish tank. So next piece is we need to go over data. Let me take over the screen, and Heath, you mind pushing the button? Chance, please. There's a green, yep. push
Right.
green.
So it's on.
This one's on, TV's not picking up, maybe the south. There it
It
is.
says it's warming up.
Actually, I like this one. Dude. I'm not showing the video. Can you click on the, there's like 3 things on the bottom. There's one that looks like sources. And click Apple TV for each.
Should I hit menu, like pause? So,
No, next one. Click the next one. Yep. One do it. There you go. So data wise, we have, this was our dashboard the week of May 12th. When we look, we had 91 total positives to date for students, 20 staff, and then we had students in quarantine, et cetera. We're down significantly. The week after, we had 3 more positive students, but not a significant change. We had 1 classroom ended up in quarantine. I think they're back any day now. As far as the rates went down from 57 per 100,000 to 8.7. So we've seen a significant drop. You could see the rapid decrease in rates. Infection rate's been floating around the 0.7, 0.75 range, kind of fluctuating there, which is good. It means the rate should continue dropping. We went from having, at one point, we were almost 3,000 cases in the county. During the window from April 8th through the 21st, we were at 2,100 cases in the county. We're now in the last 2 weeks at 429, so a significant drop. We look at currently at 60 cases per million, 2.6% positivity rate, which puts us still in high in terms of cases, but low in positivity rate. The ISD dashboard reflects the same data. CDC guidance, we're at lower or moderate to low and everything. We're currently at 60, so we finally got out of the high transmission rate to substantial. It's dropping pretty quickly, so hopefully we'll get to moderate by the end of the week. In terms of percentage of positive tests, we're still in the low transmission rate. So making progress there. That was our data update. It's updated every week. It's sitting on the website so everybody can see. So let me get the sound back on here.
I don't have anything for a board president update, so we'll turn to our student representative, Anna.
Okay, so this last weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, there was the senior celebration and the senior parade. And both of those went off super well, and I know the seniors really appreciated all the effort that went into both of those. And then as Dr. Tillman said, honors night will be on June 2nd and commencement will be June 4th. And the seniors' last day is this Friday. And then as far as COVID testing, sports are still being tested unless the student has been fully vaccinated and passed their 2 weeks. So I know a lot of us are no longer being tested because we are fully vaccinated if they're 16 and up. And then the 12 to 15 clinic, I have heard that people are super excited about that, and it's really nice that it's during the school day. And then otherwise, AP testing is still going on, and that will go into June for non-seniors. So.
Great, thank you. Aiden.
I just have that high school students who pre-ordered a yearbook and pick them up starting at lunch tomorrow. And then high school students interested in joining Link Crew, there will be an informational Zoom Wednesday at 11 o'clock.
Thank you to both of you. Now we've come to our opportunity, first opportunity for public participation. There's a 5-minute individual time limit with a total of 30 minutes allotted for all comments. If necessary, if there's more than the 6 individuals who wish to speak, we'll divide the time accordingly. If you are interested in addressing the board and you are, we're not doing the return to learning, the COVID plan, so we can do it all together. So if you're interested in making a comment to the board, if you could either raise your physical hand if you're here in person, or if you are virtual, if you would raise your virtual hand. Is there anyone present in person who wishes to speak? Is there anyone virtually?
Yeah, there is one. I gotta figure out something let me do it.
All right, moving it forward. All right,
We have Robert Bowden.
Okay, if you could state your name and indicate if you're a resident or staff member of Dexter Community Schools, and then let us know if you'd like to follow up with you. So you have 5 minutes to address the board.
Yes, good evening. My name is Robert Bowden. I'm a business owner in Dexter, Michigan. And just want to take a moment tonight and thank Dexter High School Principal Kit Moran for his many years of service to the district. He's always been great to work with, and wish him well on behalf of my company in his retirement coming up in the next few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure if we caught all of that. I imagine we do have it on the Zoom recording, correct? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Seeing no one, we will move on to our consent agenda. We have 4 items in our consent agenda. The first is a new hire, a recommendation for Louis Orlano. And as a paraeducator, we have a retirement letter from Anchor Media Specialist Alice Hinterman. We have the budget report for April, and we also have temporary appointment of presidents to appoint Mara Greatorex, Jennifer Kangas, and Daryl Kipke separately as president for the single purpose of signing 2021 high school diplomas for their children. So if someone would like to make a motion for those 4 items collectively as part of our consent agenda.
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items involved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. They are on the consent agenda, so there is no discussion. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. We will move on to our action items. We have 5 items under our action for action. The first is to approve the 2021-2022 school calendar. The calendar was recently ratified by the Dexter Educational Association, and it needs to be approved by the board. So this item is being presented for action tonight. Someone would like to make a motion?
I move that the board approve the attached 2021-2022 school year calendar.
I second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. The second action item is for the WISD biennial election voting representative. In our packet, we have a memo regarding the election to elect a board member for 1 6-year term. By law, the body electing intermediate school district members will be comprised of one representative of the board from each constituent district, who shall be designated by the constituent board. The election will be held on June 7th, 2021 at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And the Dexter Board of Education must adopt a resolution to select its voting representative and to identify the candidate that it supports between May 17th and June 7th. There's only one candidate on the ballot, and that is incumbent Teresa Saunders. Someone, yes?
I just wanted to note this was not in the printed packet, so it's separate on the table.
Okay, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion?
Just a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. First, we have to designate our voting representative. So at the last meeting, we did discuss Jennifer Kangas as our WASB representative. Are you available to do that? Okay. Thanks. Do you want to make the motion?
I move that the Board of Education adopt the biennial election resolution and designate Jennifer Kangas as its representative to serve on the 2021 electoral body and direct its representative to support Teresa Saunders on the ballot at the June 7th, 2021 election meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? This is one of those easy decisions. We have one candidate, and Jennifer Kangas has kindly offered to cast that vote for us at a virtual meeting. So, seeing no discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. The next item for action is the WISD budget resolution. Our packet includes the 2021-22 proposed budget documents from the WISD and a sample resolution. The board must adopt a resolution of support or indicate specific recommendations for changes before June 1st. So if someone would like to make a motion.
I move that the Board of Education adopt the attached approval resolution regarding the proposed WISD 2021-22 budget.
I support.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I know Dr. Tim has walked us through a PowerPoint presentation at our last meeting. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Next, we have our board norms. At the April 28th workshop, the board discussed and revised our board norms. The revised document is included in our packet and it's presented this evening for action. Someone like to make a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the attached board norms.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The board norms are unanimously approved. Next, we have board social media guidelines. Also at the April 28th workshop, the board discussed and revised our social media guidelines, and the revised document is included in your packet and is presented for action this evening. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move that the Board of Ed approve the attached social media guidelines.
Board.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would just add or make a comment that we did discuss this in detail in our work session. And I think that we all agreed that it's important for the board to be open and available to the public. And that was kind of the summary of the discussion and that's my comment.
Anyone else? Take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The board social media guidelines are unanimously approved. Thank you. Now we'll move on to our discussion items. There are 3 items. The first is the Phonics Curriculum.
I'm gonna second here. Molly, can you hit mute on that one real fast before I take over the screen? Get it?
Got it.
Before I take this over, I'm trying to avoid that awful sound.
Which is where?
There we
I
go.
muted the computer, not
Okay, let me get it back. There we go. Now we're ready for you.
Okay. So in a couple of seconds, we're gonna have, there's a short video we were gonna show. Is
Yep.
that gonna be a
Let me know when you want me to push the button.
problem? Okay. So, good night, everybody. Thank you for listening to our phonics adoption. It's good to see all of you in person. I haven't had, so it's nice to see faces. The K-4 principals and I are here tonight to talk about phonics a little bit. And we have an adoption proposal that we'd like to present to you for our students in kindergarten through 4th grade. So according to our reading action plan, we have a multi-month, actually year-long plan that was developed with the Young 5-4 principals as well as Dr. Timmis and myself. And this spring, March through June, we've been working pretty steadily about gathering new data with F&P, with NWEA. NWEA, the upper levels at 5-8 is still going on, as well as M-STEP. But in Young 5 through 4, actually K through 4, we don't give NWEA in Young 5s. We tightened the spring NWEA window so that it was a short, quick window so that we could get as much data as possible in a short period of time. And I'll show you a snippet of that in a little bit. We've asked staff to focus on key ideas and details with informational text, tying in claim evidence reasoning, which they've been working on with interdisciplinary units. And we are working on creating a coaching model for next year, clarifying our 5E inquiry framework instructional model, direct report model, and we recently hired a K4. It's the learning coach concept. We called it a literacy liaison person. So we have Heather Green who's going to fulfill that role. And her task next year is to work with families and students at the kindergarten through 4th grade level to help with early literacy and foundational skills with reading. So then this summer, we have a plan June through August. Have you guys seen this plan? Do I need to go over it?
We went over it. Yep.
Okay, I thought maybe you already did. Anyway, we have a summer plan and then a full year plan, August through June, that we're gonna work on throughout next year. So we took a look at our NWEA data this spring. And what you're looking at, if you look at the bottom row, the x-axis, 0, where it says 0 fall, 0 spring, that's kindergarten, is that the state considers them year 0. The next 2 columns are 1st grade fall and spring. The next 2 are 2nd grade fall and spring. Then we have 3rd grade fall and spring and 4th grade fall and spring. So this is current data within this school year. And we took a look at how many of our kids were in each of those quintiles: high, high average, average, low average, and low. And what you can see, there's a trend. If you look at each 2 columns next to each other, you'll see in kindergarten, as well as all the other grades, that we've had fewer kids that have been in the high and high average range, and we've had more kids who've been in the low average and low range. And this is specifically K4 reading and WEA. We also looked at math, but for the sake of tonight, we're looking at reading. So taking a look at that, because of the way the last 15 months has gone, our kids have been in school, out of school, our kids have been home a lot, remote teaching, virtual learning, and we've seen some changes in our NWEA scores. This is not a typical year for Dexter. And so we know we need to do something differently. And we broke these down. I didn't include all of that data. I do have it if you want to see it some other time, but we have other data that shows specifically those the strategies and skills that our students are low in. And one of the things that stands out is they're low in foundational skills. What we know is springtime, especially for some of our youngest readers, like our kindergartners, first graders, that's when they're taking everything they've learned so far during the fall and they're putting it into practice in the spring. And that's when they start to make really great gains when they've gotten things under their belt. We missed all of last spring because we were out in mid-March. So they missed the bulk of that growth cycle that we normally see in the spring. We came back in the fall, but it was still all virtual. And we didn't get the same level of, skill development, same consistency that we typically do in a school year. So this is unusual for us. And we felt that we needed to look at something that we could use for a year or two that would allow us to get those foundational skills back up to where they need to be, where our typical Dexter kids are, and then hopefully, see our scores improve over the next few years.
So conceptually, we're trying to go into coming out of the pandemic, into that turn pretty heavy with the foot on the gas, and we want to really hit it hard going around, just conceptually.
So we looked at a few different programs and we decided to focus on Reading Horizons. I think you all have access to the course description that we wrote. So you can see the other selections that were in there. This is about a 3-minute video that explains what Reading Horizons is about. And we also have resources back here that the teachers previewed and the community members previewed if you also want to take a look at them.
Ready?
Many people, including educators, view the process of learning to read as a mysterious event that we have little control over, aside from exposing children to text. In reality, it can be transformed into a process that is within the control of any school administrator or teacher who wants to improve the performance and expand the potential of students and instill in them a love of reading. The Reading Horizons method has been used by educators for over 30 years to simplify the complexity of the English language for beginning and struggling readers. By learning the core framework of the Reading Horizons method, students are empowered with the foundational skills necessary to automatically recognize words of any length. The 42 sounds in the English language are sequentially taught beginning with the 26 letters of the alphabet. Students are then taught to blend each sound together, which allows them to read an increasing number of words. To determine the vowel sounds within a word, students learn the 5 phonetic skills. These skills teach students how to identify whether a vowel should be short or long, based on specific letter patterns that follow the vowel. Phonetic skills 1 and 2 teach patterns that determine when a vowel is pronounced with its short sound. Phonetic skills 3, 4, and 5 teach patterns that determine whether a vowel is pronounced with its long sound. Once students have mastered the 5 phonetic skills, they're taught 2 decoding skills, which help them to know how to separate words into syllables. Students can then apply what they have learned about 42 sounds and 5 phonetic skills to each syllable. This sequential process empowers students with skills that will ultimately allow them to read words of any length. Particular emphasis is placed on transferring skills to connected text, which allows students to build their reading fluency and comprehension. All of Reading Horizons products leverage the power of its research-based method in a way that's practical for teachers to teach and simple for students to learn. Reading Horizons offers teacher training, direct instruction materials, and interactive software to create a robust foundational reading system that is easy to implement. Reading is the foundation of an effective education. It is crucial to each student's success now and in the future. The literacy development of each student is too important to be left to a mysterious and unpredictable process. Reading Horizons can empower the teachers in your school or district to take control of reading instruction and implement a proven and sequential process that provides students with their best opportunity for reading success. Many people, including educators, view the process of
I know, but I'm not on full screen again. Hold on. Is this the right slide?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. So we're looking at two pieces to reading. Well, Reading Horizons has their Discovery program, which is a K-3 program, and then they also have Elevate, which is 4th grade up. The K-3 both of them are Orton Gillingham based, which includes direct instruction, multisensory approach, structured literacy, sequential diagnostic, prescriptive. Has instructional practice aligned with reading science, and high interest, low level reading passages with decodable books. And some of those are available here if you want to take a look at them. So we would like to adopt this through all of K-3 in accordance with the 3rd grade reading bill. We know that we need to make sure that we are doing everything we can for our readers at all levels, but specifically up through 3rd grade. So on the next slide, our 4th grade is looking at Elevate. We know we've got 4th graders coming in who are currently missing some of those important skills over the last few years. And those 4th graders will use a similar approach. So the entire building with the Dexter Early Elementary Complex as well as Wiley will use the same Orton Gillingham systemic approach to teaching phonics, phonemic awareness, and foundational reading skills. So primarily grades 4 and up are using this Orton Gillingham method to work independently and at their own pace. It does help students with dyslexia. We do have some staff who are trained in some Orton Gillingham practices, so this will go right along with them, like our reading and writing people and our special education staff. So to implement this, Young 5 classrooms are going to continue to use Phonics and Heggerty. They've been using Phonics for a little over a year now, and they've been trained in that. We've been using Heggerty in Young 5s and kindergarten for quite a while, and actually Reading Horizons partners well and actually recommends that we continue using Heggerty with those phonemic awareness skills, and then uses Reading Horizons as well. 1st grade through 3rd grade are going to be working in the Reading Horizons Discovery Curriculum, and then, as I said, the 4th grade using Elevate. So there is a professional development plan that goes along with this. So staff are going to participate in professional development this fall. It is scheduled to be 2 full days. So we're working with the Young 5 through 4 principals as well as the rep from Reading Horizons to make sure that we have that time set aside based on our calendar. And there's also virtual professional development that's available and embedded in the program. And so teachers will have resources and accessibility to that as well. So we can continue to have PLC work throughout the year that involves those online resources, and then teachers will be able to take a look at their instructional practice and their data throughout the year as we go through. Teachers, and this is kind of the second paragraph, teachers at each grade level are going to participate in monthly data rounds or data reviews facilitated by the principals and the instructional coaches that to help support this throughout the year. Lastly, this is the slide that lays out all of the expenses. The different kits at different levels cost different amounts of money. So at kindergarten, kindergarten through 4th grade, this is for all teachers. So all classroom teachers would have their own teacher kit, their own resources for their classroom. We've purchased enough for our special education staff and the 4 intervention specialists also. There is a differentiated special education intervention teacher kit that is different than what classroom teachers will use. And then professional development for 2 days is $7,000 shipping and handling. So our total cost is a little under $76,000.
That was it, right?
That's it.
Any other questions?
Do you want to hit unmute over there?
Okay.
On the Zoom? Okay.
Trustee London.
Just wondering if we're expecting to fund that out of normal supply budgets, or whether that's something that we need to do with our reserve for things like this.
That is a good question, Dr. Timmis. I don't have.
I'm looking at Sharon. I think we're okay. We're gonna be all right this year. That's what we talked about, but getting the final okay.
Yeah, Trustee Arnold.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a third grader, so it's particularly relevant. My question really relates to some of the older students, third, second, third, fourth. How different is this method than how they've been taught in the past? Is there going to be a steep learning curve for the older kids to learn the method and then start applying it? Not having the base from kindergarten on up, is it going to be easy to adopt?
So I haven't taught it personally. Looking at the resources, it is very step-by-step and it is very systemic. So at each grade level, students will start with, third grade students will start with chapter 1. If they need to go down and do some things in, a second grade level or whatever, we will have access to be able to do that. I don't know, you guys have an idea? You want to jump in?
Yeah, at each grade level, they give a recommendation. So for third graders that have never had access to the program, it gives them a clear path for these are the most important concepts to hit. Same with second graders that have never had access to the program, they'll give them their own clear path. As Molly said, our first and third graders will all participate in the same program, but they'll go at it at a different pace.
Mm-hmm.
One of the really nice things about the program is that it'll go at the pace of student learning. So we work towards skill mastery. So your second and third graders, in theory, because they've had more access and exposure in their K-3, they will pick up the pace and they'll go faster. So they'll be able to get through more of the 6 chapters than the first grade class, which is exactly what we would expect.
Very good, thank you.
Trustee Kangas.
I have a couple similar questions to the last two. Regarding the cost structure that you presented, much of that is recurring versus one time. Are we going to be purchasing materials every year? And then I have a question about, I can wait for that.
So this is a one-time.
Okay.
There are no recurring resources unless we need to purchase like more small decodable books, as they get used, they might get, scuffed up and whatever. But other than that, everything teachers need, they should be able to use for years to come.
Okay. And then you mentioned that we will have, I can't remember, the 3 different types of phonics programs that will be taught throughout the years. I think you said kindergarten, 0 through 3, and then 4th grade and up. And I'm just wondering if those are easy for teachers to plug in and out of. So if a teacher is in 5th grade and moves to 3rd grade, is that a whole new system that they have to learn? And if so, I guess I'm just wondering, is there a program that, if you could comment on that potential challenge? Maybe it's not.
So this program primarily focuses on early foundational reading skills, which focuses on K through 3. And so all kindergarten through 3rd grade teachers and students will be using Reading Horizons, if approved. As I mentioned, Young Fives is using Phonics, which is something that actually leads into this and should be. It has much more of a play-based focus at a Young 5 level. In terms of teachers who are at a higher grade level, the focus of reading at those levels is much more for informational text, much more for word study. So the focus of those is different. In Reading Horizons, 4th grade and up really focuses on students who have special education needs, have dyslexia, need intervention services. So there isn't like a word study program that goes along with Reading Horizons at the upper grade levels. It's really more for intervention. Does that answer your question?
I think so. I just, I think back to when we adopted everyday math, and it was a little clunky, but it's still, it's the same program from K through 6, which is nice. And I think after people got used to it, just thinking back to that, adoption of that. And then my last question, I guess, is regarding, we were talking about, you presented the scores and that they're unusual for us. I would assume under COVID, this is a similar story across the state, but I don't know.
I haven't looked at state.
The anticipation is it'll be similar. Our losses will be less affluent communities. You'll find that communities with higher poverty rates, they're projecting significant loss. Like ours we can catch them up pretty quickly, but there will be other communities that are more significantly impacted. We, in the later grades, are doing the assessments in the next week or so, but preliminary data shows not as significant a drop. The hardest part was in K2, the little kids, is you're doing some of that foundational work that's hard to replicate without continuity. We do this, we were actually looking at phonics as that was a gap to begin with, but we've seen it exacerbated. So this is a little heavier dose than what we were planning to do, but
yeah, we've been piloting for a little while, but felt like this program gave us the most strategic, structured, foundational approach that we've seen, where we could get some quick wins and catch students up to where they need to be with, honestly, limited teacher prep. Because with all that they've been through in the last year, to throw a new program at them, we were very cautious about, and we wanted to make sure that it wasn't extremely time consuming to them and that it would seamlessly fit with what we're currently doing.
I'm excited. I've heard from a lot of parents who have children that are older than mine, that they did go through phonics program and that they missed that. So this is something that I think is interesting to me to hear that we're looking at. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Quincy Bruderly.
Thank you. So first, I want to just express my appreciation to the district for looking at this. Like Jennifer mentioned, I have had a number of families talk to me this year, specifically about their kids and the curriculum and reading and phonics in particular. So I was really excited to see this on the agenda tonight. I wonder if you could, I know this is sort of more it's an implementation question, but for families who might be talking to us or listening tonight, can you talk a little bit about what this will look like for families next year? So, thinking about families who do have anxiety about where their kid is at this year, that he didn't make the gains the family was hoping, what is this going to look like for the kid next year? I mean, are they going to be bringing home worksheets? Are they going to be bringing home books? Like, how will a parent know what their kid is doing in this program?
So in the teacher resources, there are set out 15 to 20 minute lessons every day for phonics. Teachers have the ability to pull small groups to do specific strategic lessons, targeted lessons with students like we do in reading and writing workshop. Students will have access to the decodable books, so those may be coming home. There are also in here various letter cards that will be cut out. And so students may have the opportunity to bring letter cards home for practice with families. So it'll depend on the needs of the student. But that's part of what our literacy liaison and the classroom teachers will be working out together in terms of, what materials should be going home, how much support, and those read at home pieces will go into students' IRIPs, their individualized reading improvement plans. And that's part of our literacy liaison person who will be following up with families, kids, and teachers to make sure that they're being supported in multiple ways. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else? I would like to just thank the district for the focus on the K-4 literacy. I mean, as we all know, that's foundational. And because of the past year, obviously that group needs some extra attention. So I really appreciate the work in bringing the proposal forward. I have one question regarding the cost, and that was, if I recall, there was a $5,000 shipping, and it reminded me that Dick Lundy, I think he's told a story of decades ago when to save shipping costs. Some folks drove, was it to Chicago or somewhere, to pick up textbooks. And so I'm just wondering where these are coming from and if there's any option to save some of that money.
You know, I don't know. Do you know where the company is based? I'd have to do a little research to find out for you. I'm not opposed to a road trip.
I'll just throw it out there that if there's another way to get those materials delivered less expensively, that we at least consider it. I mean, if they're coming from Hawaii, maybe someone does want to go.
Yeah, I'll sign up.
And anyways, just, it is a significant amount. It's something like, I don't know, is that 8% of the whole cost?
Yeah, it is about 8%. And I know, for instance, we have purchased from Heinemann for units of study reading, units of study writing, and their shipping and handling costs are 10% right out the door. So this is comparable, slightly less, but pretty comparable to a lot of the other programs we've purchased.
Another
we'll check.
thought is if any other district within the ISD is looking at the same program and you do one shipment to the ISD or whatever, but I'll let you figure out details if there's a way to do it more cost effective.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely look into it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
All right.
And this will come back to the board for a vote at the next meeting.
In June, yep.
Great. Thanks so much for your presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next, we have our 2021-22 board calendar draft. And this is being presented for discussion this evening and a return for action at the next meeting. So do you want to walk us through anything, whether it's Dr. Timmis or?
Well, we have dates set up, there's options on all of them. So you can see July 19th or 26th, we want to talk about who's in town, so we know where the, and then help inform the 9th or the 16th, the 23rd, or the 30th of August, etc. In terms of July, are either of those dates bad for anybody?
My preference would be for the 19th, but these are possible.
They're both fine.
My only preference on the whole thing is it's standardized most of the time on either first, third, or second, fourth, rather than switching back and forth from one month to another.
That's what the 19th and the 26th, I'll just figure out.
Either one.
It should be okay, but
If we go with the 19th, the 9th, and 23rd, unless you want to, that was the first for rotation for the most part.
Yeah. When's that week? 9 and 23 is.
Is there any reason that you would like to have? Is there any reason you'd like to have the later date in August because of the regular start of school? New hires or anything like that?
Yeah, that does sometimes help, sometimes makes it harder. Is that 30th on the calendar, it says it's the night before we do opening day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts on long days.
I probably won't be here tonight. I think that's during that week. Sports and movie theaters,
I think it was in July.
It's in July. Well, there's the before tryouts for volleyball. There's the
Yeah, a lot of sports already started by the night, so we can do we look the 30th first week, second, okay? So it could be the 16th and the 30th or the 9th and 23rd. Whatever you want to do, I don't know.
Well,
Doesn't matter to me.
doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that it's easy for you.
the orientation for staff easier, it's a little bit sooner. Those people that are hired by then.
In any given year, we're hiring people that Sunday anyways. So it happens every year in every district.
Before we go through just in detail on each of these dates, I know one of the ideas I had thrown out is whether it made sense to consider moving school board meetings to, say, Tuesday or another day. I know city council meets on Mondays, and there have been occasions in the past where we've either wanted to go to their meeting or they've come to our meeting, or there might be community members who want to do both. And there are sometimes holidays on Mondays, and then we end up meeting on Tuesday. Just wanted to throw that out as a concept. Don't know if people have conflicts on that day or whether it makes sense just to stay how we've always done it.
That's one thing, particular problems with the schedule we were doing before some years.
My only thought is, it does seem like the schools schedule things Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays pretty consistently. It seems like Mondays are less likely to be concert days and things like that.
And that's a good reason to stay as it is.
I'm used to it too.
Just wanted, sometimes we fall into the habit of doing things how we always have, and we don't stop and consider if there's another way to do it. Okay, proceed on the dates.
I might not be available on tonight. I mean, this is just discussion at this point, so. But yeah, August 9th is, I think, for, at least for volleyball, we've got tryouts on the 11th. If that stays, then days before then. So.
We'll look at the 16th and 30th.
And then we run into Labor Day. But. Labor Day is next week. Oh, the 6th, yeah, anyway.
I'm okay with the 16th. The 9th is my husband's birthday, but. You know how I love, you know, I have like, the whole summer is birthdays in my family, so it's all right. We're gonna hit one or another.
Oh, well, you do a whole
Yeah.
year schedule, but nobody has a contract.
Yeah.
We will always have someone have a
This
conflict.
is
So
first 2 weeks.
is there something that makes more sense from the district's perspective here?
Let's defer to what works for you.
Yeah.
It's a
Literally any
long-
day down here is probably.
Yeah, in August, it's a long span from the 19th to the 9th is 3 weeks, which is not the end of the world. We're doing lots of wrapping up stuff. That puts us at like a third and a fifth Monday that month. But it put us on a rotation. We go to the 13th, we can get to the 2nd and September, sometimes we do one meeting, sometimes we do two. We've been setting one, I think, in recent years because we kept canceling one of them. There's a whole lot of things to get the year started, and then it's kind of like we did a bunch of work, we got everything ready, and now we're in full swing, and it's not just a couple of little items. So if we did the 13th, or if we just did one in September and made it the 20th. I don't know, it's fine.
I would suggest we look hard, first, once we get into the school year, first and third seems to have less problems at the end of the month with Thanksgiving, and Christmas and stuff like that, so. There might be a little more consistency with first and third.
So
One meeting in September is fine, doing whatever works for everybody in July and August is fine.
So we went September 20th, and we go October 4th and 18th.
Oh, yes, okay, yeah.
First or third, then November would be basically the first would be first. So we can do the day after Halloween.
Might be out trick or treating late.
Yeah, you get hyped up on sugar, that's usually what happens.
I'm not sure I understand what, unless we get the 28th and 22nd.
Thanksgiving is the 25th. So we can do the 8th and 22nd.
And you always cancel meetings that don't have a need for.
Did you, so I know there was a suggestion we stay with the same, if we're going to the 1st and 3rd, do you want to do November 1st and then the 15th?
It's first day of hunting season.
The 15th.
This year.
There are some districts at the top.
Yes.
So in November, do you want to go the 1st and 15th, or do you want to go? Want to do that? Okay, so that would put us at December 6th and 20th.
We usually end up with one in December. Yeah.
Exactly. So we should probably do either the 6th or the 13th. The 6th is safer for concerts. 13th is right concert week.
13th is also 4 weeks after the last one, so 6 makes more sense.
January. Oh, yeah. We come back. No, I think it's the 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go back. I don't have a board meeting. January 10th is good, I think. Yeah, January 10th.
So it'd be the 10th, not the 11th.
10th and the 24th. And then February.
The 11th is a Friday.
Yes, that's not right.
Yeah, I think it's the wrong year calendar. The 7th.
And 21st,
That's President's.
that's,
Do we have the day off that day? Yeah, the 21st.
Let's do the 7th and 28th. Of course, that was December 1st. Well, then we could do the,
well, then the other option is doing it on the 22nd, the Tuesday, which we've done that too.
No, March is right. Yeah. We could do back to back the 28th and the 7th, and then go to the 21st against the summer spring break. Think so?
February
Break
dates,
starts.
February dates can't be right. It's March.
February and March are usually the same.
No, the February dates are right.
February 7th.
It'd be the 7th and the 28th. Our calendar. So then if we did March 7th and 21st, we don't have to take the Dodge spring break.
That sounds good.
And then April's messed up. April 11th is a Monday, it's the 4th.
It was just supposed to be 4.
So we could do, that's right when we get back from spring break. You better do the 11th. 25th, that one. And then May. 9th. 23rd. We're not doing 23rd. Rescheduled from 2 years ago.
I was gonna say,
You can do whatever you want.
So then you're saying the 2nd and the 16th?
Well, it would not be May 30th.
Yeah.
To do the.
It was originally a Saturday in July. Then it was a Saturday in July again. Now it's a Monday in May.
Do you want to do the 24th on a Tuesday?
Or we could move it May 2nd.
Or do you want to wait and see if it's rescheduled and just put May 23rd and then if it's,
It won't be rescheduled.
We could go back to the 1st and 3rd.
Yeah, we can do the 2nd and 16th. I guess it's too bad back.
Yeah, the 25th is.
If you cancel.
Cancel. June.
June. June would be nice to do the 6th.
so what was the decision on May?
June, if we go first and third, it'll be the 6th and the 20th.
Graduation next year?
We haven't said it yet. We just got a calendar. That'll start this, or the next week or two, we'll start making graduation dates. We have homecoming, I think, figured out. Until calendar's done, we don't.
So there'll be a cleaned up calendar for us to look at the next meeting. Right?
Can I just clarify what the August dates were that we anticipate? Did we?
16th and 30th? I get July 19th. And then August 16th.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? Next item on our agenda is to set a board workshop to discuss district growth and achievement goals. And there are two dates being proposed. One is Monday, June 21st, and the other is Wednesday, June 23rd. Does anyone have any conflicts on those dates?
What time?
Are these evening meetings?
And then it's a Monday and a Wednesday, so then your work schedule. We do evening.
So
Probably an hour, maybe two.
it, something like a 5 to 7 or a 7, or 6 to 8 or whatever.
Whatever your
works for the board.
schedule.
The 21st works for me, the 23rd does not.
No, I'm gonna be looking
Oh,
at
okay.
it.
I can't do the 22nd, but I could do 21st or 23rd.
So you
Yeah, I
can't.
can go ahead and.
Does anyone
Look at
else,
another week.
does anyone else have a conflict?
21st is easier for me. It would be in the evening. I'm dropping off at camp across the state on the 23rd, so that's my only.
We could carve out, we could make the agenda for the 28th really big. And carve out an hour at the end of work on that. We already have board meeting. Almost never works.
June 28th?
Could you push the regular meeting to 7? I mean, to 8? So you can do the
Or we
workshop
could do a
first.
workshop before, do
Do you have a timeline?
5:30 to 7.
I'm
You
out,
do that?
I'm out of town that week, June 28th. I'll make that meeting anyway.
Which,
Yeah, but go ahead.
Brian, do you have a conflict on June 28th?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have June 14th. Do we have an idea of, presumably we will have the Phonics Curriculum and the board calendar come back for approval, but generally our action items will
Budget.
quickly,
Budget hearing.
our budget hearing.
We'll have that before the finance.
What's the issue with the 21st of June at this point? Do
Yeah,
you have a problem with that?
I'll
Jen,
go to town.
you have a
Yeah. But you can go ahead.
On the 23rd, I could connect virtually. There, it's, is that for
Anybody else
you?
take the 23rd?
Just depending on what time.
Oh, yeah.
If it's in the evening, I should be able to.
I'd rather do the 14th, which would be all in person.
I'd rather do the first.
We're probably gonna have a finance for there. We usually do the
Let's
finance.
review the 5:30 to 7.
Yeah, let's schedule a 5:30 to 7 on the 14th.
For the board workshop.
So this is June 14th, 5:30 to 7. Oh, if you could send out an email reminder tomorrow to everyone, also because Daryl Pixie is not here, and that way, if any of us didn't put it in our calendar, we'll get that.
And our agenda again is, or roughly, is growth and achievement goals.
But we'll also then have our budget. We have to approve by the end of June the budget for next year. So will it be the budget hearing on the 14th? Generally, we're required to have a budget hearing. Generally, we haven't had members of the public comment on our budget, but we will discuss it at the meeting on the 14th.
But not in the workshop.
Not in the workshop, at the regular meeting. And when we plan for that workshop, then to be here, because then we'll go right into the board meeting. So it'll actually probably be 5:30 to 6:50 or 45 or something. Okay. So we have come now to our second opportunity for public comment. There is a 3-minute individual time limit with a total of 15 minutes allotted for all comments. So if anyone wishes to address the board, if you could either raise your physical hand if you're here in person or your virtual hand if you're connecting remotely. Yeah, I see one person in person. Is there anyone virtually? Okay, so if you could come up towards the microphone, if you could state your name, whether you're a resident or staff member of Dexter Community Schools, then indicate if you'd like someone to follow up.
All right, Kevin Creech, just a resident, live in off territorial. My question, or not question, but 2 weeks ago we had talked about the going back to school plan for September. I know we now have our school calendar, and I think the union has approved days. So is there going to be a written plan that comes out to the community that we can see for the start of year? I mean, we hear normal, we hear 5 days. What does that mean? I think people want to actually see it on paper. So I think that would be very helpful for the community to be able to see before the end of the year.
The calendar was just sent, that's the school day.
Okay. So you just approved, so it will be coming out, or it has come out? Okay. All right, and that defines what, so right now we're hybrid. Teachers aren't going to be hybrid. They're going to be teaching the class. And if you want virtual, it's Michigan Virtual or whatever that program is. Okay.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address the board? Anyone raise their hand virtually? No? Okay. And this is what I usually, where's my agenda, where I usually have then skipped over some agenda items. So I had to get my agenda back, thank you. So we have committee updates. The first one is policy. Trustee Graber, would you like to update us?
We met May 18th and went over several policies that we will be presenting for the board. We just had a couple questions that we needed answered. And then, well, when it comes to the board for review, it will look like a big stack. Several of them are the same wording, just in different places in our policy for staff, support staff, and administrators. And then we also set our next meeting, June 15th. We're gonna have quite a week that week. And it was all pretty straightforward. Just a few questions.
And then you were also giving us an update on EFT.
Yeah, great. It's tomorrow show for the committee updates. So for the EFT, they are starting their Dread Strong Staff Appreciation Awards. Today, it's their twice yearly opportunity for students and families to recognize DCS staff members who've demonstrated excellence in education. And the deadline for Dread Strong Awards is June 7th. And if you need more information, it's on the Education Foundation website. And they've got great pictures on there with the staff and their certificates. Yeah, it's a great way to honor the staff and then also give back to EFT.
Great, thank you. Next, we have an opportunity for board comments. Is there any board member who wishes to make a comment? Trustee Bruder.
I feel like as we are wrapping up the school year, I need to sort of thanking the staff and parents and the students. I know my house is very anxious to be done with the school year. And so I imagine that that feeling is throughout most of Dexter. And so I guess I just wanted to express my appreciation to everyone who's been working so hard this year, both in the classroom and making sure that the buildings run and that lunches are given out to the students in town. I've just been, I know everyone is exhausted, and I've just been so impressed at how things have gone. So I just want to express my thanks to everyone for participating in the year.
Anyone else? Okay, we have 3 informational items. We have our board bulletin from our last meeting, draft policy, meeting minutes, and then also one of our business staff, Lisa Melvin, received her MSBO certification, so congratulations to her. We do not have a closed session planned for this evening. Do we need a motion to cancel the 8 p.m.? So we did have a virtual meeting scheduled for 8 p.m. if needed, but we did not need it this evening. So if someone would like to make a motion to cancel that meeting.
I move to cancel the scheduled 8 p.m.
I second. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion's unanimously approved. And that brings us to our adjournment. So thank you all. I adjourn this meeting. Have a good night. You know, you never know. You really don't. Sometimes it's like, we go with some.